Attention! This video is a live interview with Ukrainian General Serhii. We receive news about the developments in the war zone from the front line.
The most important elements that make any army functional are discipline and seriousness. When these two elements disappear, the army ceases to be a group of people acting together and in synchronization and becomes just a crowd of people. We can say that there are many reasons behind the disappearance of discipline and seriousness in the army. Failures in the chain of command, inexperience of the soldiers, and ineffective commanders are some of the reasons. In the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, a very remarkable element has been added to these factors. So much so that this element is strong enough to finish the Russian soldiers before they enter the battle line. Ukrainian General Serhii reported what happened on the front line for us. As you know, in our previous reports, we have shared with you a lot of information about the indiscipline and lack of seriousness of Russian soldiers. Of course, there is also inexperience behind such undisciplined behavior of Russian soldiers. However, the alcohol problem ranks first among the factors affecting the indiscipline of the Russian army. The losses of the Russian army on the front line can also be interpreted as a reflection of this situation. In recent days, a lot of information about the problems caused by alcohol addiction of Russian soldiers has been shared by the world press. In addition to the regions where there are hot conflicts, there are intense cases of drunken soldiers, even in barracks. So what is the latest situation about drunken soldiers in the Russian army?
The British Intelligence Service MI6 recently published a remarkable report on drunken Russian soldiers. When we examine the data revealed by the report, we see that Russian soldiers are too drunk to fight on the front line. According to the report, more than 200,000 Russians die in just 1 year due to alcohol addiction and accidents caused by drunkenness. According to British intelligence, Russians who come to the front line cannot get rid of their fondness for alcohol and adapt a professional military life. We can access a lot of information about drunken Russian soldiers through local sources. As you know, the war has become quite fierce in recent days. So much so that the war has spread to Moscow, the capital of Russia, and unmanned aerial vehicles have hit the Kremlin Palace, the heart of the Russian Federation. Russia is a country that boasts of the success of its air defense systems. However, we see that these boasted air defense systems could not prevent drones from entering Moscow, the capital of Russia. There is a connection between the failure of air defense systems and drunken Russian soldiers.
Recently, a Russian Telegram channel, which regularly publishes information about security issues within Russia, claimed that a drunken Russian soldier disabled the air defense system by dropping it into a pit. According to the channel, the 33-year-old Russian soldier took charge of the air defense system while under the influence of alcohol. Not noticing the trenches dug for security, the Russian soldier made the air defense system unusable by dropping it into a deep pit. Russia's losses are increasing day by day due to soldiers who fall into alcohol coma and soldiers who die by making moves under the influence of alcohol. Russian authorities are looking for a solution to this. New recruitment orders are constantly being issued to compensate for losses. But the newly recruited soldiers are no different from the previous soldiers. Our team member Alina asked Ukrainian General Serhii questions about the current state of the war and the Ukrainian army. What we are about to hear now concerns drunken Russian soldiers. We will publish the answers, even heard for the first time, exclusively for our joint members. The part that is relevant to our news is dubbed in English.
Ще каже, бійці, а 60+. Але в мене, каже, форма.
They're recruiting alcoholics and old people to fight. Most of these drunks are over 60 years old. I recently saw a video where soldiers are trained. They call Prigozhin a father there. A grandfather appears in the center and says, "Here is a 60-year-old fighter, but I am in very good shape." Prigozhin looks at him, and in the background, a grandfather can hardly stand. I don't know, he probably still hasn't come out of the alcohol coma. They've been drinking for about 5 years. He takes a step to give the roll call and says, "Yes," slowly blinks his eyes and falls asleep. Shit, there is 30 people standing there. Some of them not only fail, they got lost in the war zone. Then they come to us and say, "Take us prisoner because we haven't eaten for 3 days." I have photographs proving that they died of starvation, not from bullets in the trenches. They were bruised and frozen to death.
We know about the deaths in the war zone due to the lack of ammunition and starvation. The project I Want to Live was designed to facilitate the surrender of Russian soldiers who do not want to fight. But the Russian soldiers are too drunk to understand this project. And the main thing that keeps them at the front is unlimited alcohol. As we can see from General Serhii's account, the Russian army is facing more and more problems, even as it tries to solve the problems it is struggling with. Recently, the Ukrainian army carried out a very successful intelligence operation. Ukrainian intelligence officers managed to infiltrate the telephone lines of Russian soldiers on the front line. Very remarkable details about the Russian soldiers were deciphered thanks to these conversations. The most remarkable event in the context of our subject is the phone records of a Russian soldier who talks to his wife. In the phone conversation in question, the Russian soldier tells his wife about his alcohol addiction. The Russian soldier uses the following expressions while explaining the gravity of the situation. "It is very difficult to live here. We face death every day. We have no strength left to bear what we are going through. Alcohol is a safe harbor for us. We drink until we get drunk. This makes living here easier, for a while." There is another very interesting detail among these phone records. In a telephone conversation between a Russian soldier and his mother, he tells his mother that Russian commanders send soldiers who are afraid of fighting to war by giving them alcohol. Russian commanders are both trying to increase their own prestige by getting Russian soldiers drunk and making efforts to fulfill Putin's desires.
Although drunkenness is a temporary solution as the effects of alcohol wear off, Russian soldiers cannot escape the harsh conditions of the front and the inhuman treatment of their own soldiers by Russian commanders. Therefore, Russian soldiers try not to spend time without getting drunk. Although this relaxes the soldiers individually, it leads to major problems when considered collectively on an army basis. Alcohol addiction is the biggest reason behind the indiscipline and lack of seriousness of the Russian army. What do you think? What do you think the problem of drunken soldiers in the Russian army can lead to? Do you expect the cases of drunken soldiers to increase? How can the problems caused by drunken soldiers be solved? What are your thoughts on the interview with our source? Would you like us to include more interviews in our reports? We care about your opinions. Please share them with us. For all exclusive content, subscribe via the join button.